Hey everyone, and welcome to this brand new Be Relevant Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the core principles of M. Scott Peck's absolute landmark book, The Road Less Traveled. Now we're not just going to summarize this thing, we are going to extract its profound, timeless wisdom and apply it directly to your current reality. Look, if you've ever felt completely stuck in your personal growth, or if modern life just feels like an endless, exhausting series of hurdles right now, well, this explainer is designed to completely shift your perspective. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of discipline, completely redefine what true love means, and even explore the hidden forces that guide us. The whole goal here is to help you live a much more lively, intentional, and quite frankly, spiritually fulfilled life. So, let's get into it.
We have to start right here, with Peck's famously blunt opening line. Life is difficult. Honestly, it sounds kind of pessimistic at first glance, doesn't it? But it's actually one of the most liberating truths you can possibly embrace. You see, the source material points out something huge. Trying to avoid legitimate suffering is actually the primary basis of all human mental illness. We live in a society that is constantly selling us shortcuts and comfort, basically telling us that if we feel pain, something must be terribly wrong. But problems don't just magically go away, right? When we procrastinate or ignore them or just pretend they don't exist, we create a substitute pain that is infinitely worse. I mean, think about the chronic gnawing anxiety of ignoring a mountain of credit card debt. That prolonged substitute pain is ultimately way more destructive to your mind and spirit than the acute, temporary pain of just sitting down, facing reality, and creating a strict budget. The pain of solving problems is literally exactly what forces us to grow.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with accepting life's difficulty, then move into the 4 tools of discipline, explore the myth of romance, tackle overcoming mental laziness, and finally look at the reality of grace.
Okay, Section 1. Accepting life's difficulty.
Now, there is a profound, almost mind-bending paradox to human suffering here. Once you stop expecting life to be easy, you can finally transcend the difficulty. Just let that sink in for a second. The exact moment you genuinely accept that life is, by definition, a series of problems to be solved, the fact that it's difficult simply stops mattering. It's our resistance to the difficulty, our constant whining that this shouldn't be happening to me, that causes our deepest anguish. When we avoid the legitimate pain of dealing with our everyday realities, we're basically trading our growth for a far more toxic substitute pain. But when we actually welcome problems as the cutting edge between failure and success, boom, we immediately reclaim our power.
Moving on to Section 2, the 4 tools of discipline. This is the foundation for growth.
So acceptance is the mindset, but discipline is your practical toolkit. Without discipline, we can solve absolutely nothing. To achieve any real growth, we've got to integrate 4 essential tools of discipline into our daily habits. They are delaying gratification, acceptance of responsibility, dedication to truth, and balancing. Now, these aren't just abstract philosophical concepts, they are daily practices. Think of them as psychological muscles that you have to actively flex every single day if you want to constructively face and solve the inevitable problems in your life.
Let's look a little closer at the first tool, delaying gratification. This is basically the process of scheduling the pain and pleasures of life. It means consciously choosing to meet and experience the pain first, just getting it over with, so that your future pleasure is actually enhanced. Peck shared this brilliant clinical anecdote about a financial analyst who was chronically depressed. During therapy, they uncovered her eating habits. Get this. She would meticulously eat all the sweet frosting off her cake first, leaving the dry, unappetizing cake for last. And this seemingly tiny habit, it was actually a metaphor for her entire life. She was structuring her workdays by doing all the easy, enjoyable tasks in the first hour, and then she'd spend the remaining 7 hours just dreading the hard work. By flipping that script, by choosing the suffering of the hardest tasks first, you get to settle in and truly enjoy the rest of your day completely unburdened.
Now, consider the modern daily conflict between taking on too much responsibility versus not taking enough. On the one hand, we have individuals who basically take on the weight of the entire world. They believe absolutely everything is their fault. The emotional toll here is massive. It manifests as constant anxiety, neuroticism, and this paralyzing guilt, all because they try to solve everyone else's problems. Then, on the other extreme, we have folks who don't take nearly enough responsibility. They constantly blame society or their boss or their parents. They escape their personal freedom just to avoid making hard choices, which ensures they forever feel like helpless victims of circumstance. True growth requires finding the middle ground. You literally cannot solve a problem until you can say, hey, this is my problem and it's up to me to solve it. We have to find our footing and take absolute ownership of our own personal choices.
Our third tool is dedication to truth, which is really a dedication to reality, even when it's deeply, deeply uncomfortable. The source material uses this beautiful analogy of map making. As kids, we create a mental map of how the world works. But the world is forever changing, right? And we are forever encountering new terrain. So to maintain good mental health, we have to continually revise our maps. But why do so many of us prefer the comfort of illusion instead? Simple, because revising our maps is incredibly painful. It requires the excruciating admission that we were wrong. It means our previous worldview was flawed, and man, that deeply bruises the human ego. So instead of living in the open and exposing our worldview to a real challenge, we retreat. We selectively withhold the truth to protect our fragile egos, and as a direct result, we just completely stagnate.
The final tool is balancing, which requires a ton of flexibility and judgment. A huge part of balancing is a specialized discipline called bracketing. Now, bracketing means temporarily giving up your own prejudices and expectations to welcome strangeness and incorporate new knowledge. Imagine entering a highly charged political discussion or a really heated argument with your partner. Bracketing means literally forcing your own ego to step outside the room for 5 minutes so you can actually hear what the other person is experiencing. True listening and true growth require us to temporarily silence ourselves. If we don't do this, every single present moment is just a repetitive, stagnant echo of our past experiences.
Section 3. The Myth of Romance. Time to unlearn true love.
All right, I need you to prepare to completely unlearn almost everything pop culture, movies, and society have taught you about romance and relationships. Because according to the source material, the myth of romantic love is a dreadful lie that causes millions of people to waste vast amounts of energy. Falling in love is effortless. It's really just a temporary collapse of ego boundaries where you suddenly feel merged with someone else. It creates this complete illusion of perfection and, more often than not, leads to a toxic dependency, where people are so busy seeking to be loved that they have absolutely zero energy left to actually give love. Now contrast that illusion with genuine true love. True love is volitional, meaning it's a daily, active choice. It requires immense work. It fosters independent growth and profoundly respects separate identities. A great relationship is built by two strong, independent people, not two halves desperately trying to make a whole.
And this brings us to Peck's clinical, incredibly powerful definition of love. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Do you notice what is noticeably absent from that definition? The word feeling. Genuine love is an intentional action. It's a form of work. It's a form of courage. It is not simply a fleeting, warm, fuzzy feeling. When you truly love, you are deciding to be loving, regardless of whether or not that feeling is present in that exact moment.
Section 4. Overcoming mental laziness. Let's talk about facing mental resistance. So we have the tools of discipline, and we understand the real work of love. So I want to pose this highly relatable question directly to you. If the tools, delaying gratification, taking responsibility, facing reality, if they're so simple to understand, why on earth is change so incredibly hard? Why do we struggle so much to maintain new habits? Why do patients drop out of therapy? Just take a second to reflect on your own life right now. What is stopping you from doing the things you know you need to do to improve your current reality?
Well, the answer is entropy, which manifests in human beings as good old-fashioned laziness. Our real enemy isn't our external circumstances, or our boss, or the economy. It's actually our own mental laziness and the absolute terror of doing the hard work of change. We fear losing the comfort of the status quo. We are terrified of the sheer effort required to revise those outdated maps of reality we talked about earlier. The source material makes a really bold claim here. Ordinary laziness is the passive failure to love. Why? Because love requires work. When we don't have that hard conversation with our partner because we're quote-unquote too tired to deal with the fallout, our laziness is actively preventing both our own spiritual growth and the growth of our partner. Recognizing this deep-seated laziness within yourself is the very first, critical step to defeating it.
Finally, Section 5. The reality of grace. The forces outside us.
We are now moving into the final and definitely most mysterious piece of the puzzle. M. Scott Peck was a guy who beautifully balanced the analytical, rigorous mind of a psychiatrist with the deep wonder of a mystic. And from this really unique vantage point, he observed a phenomenon he called grace. The source material defines grace impartially as a universal, powerful force originating completely outside of human consciousness that routinely nurtures our spiritual growth. Now, to be clear, this isn't about promoting a specific religious dogma. It's a clinical observation of a force that consistently pushes us to evolve, operating completely independently of our conscious decision-making or our willpower. It is the ultimate counterforce to the entropy and mental laziness we were just confronting. To truly grasp this, we really just need to look at the everyday miracles happening all around us. Peck saw these not as random statistical chance, but as tangible evidence of grace protecting and guiding us. Think about our sheer physical resistance to illness, right? Deadly bacteria is absolutely everywhere all the time, yet we mostly remain remarkably healthy. Think of people surviving horrific car accidents entirely unscathed. Or consider the profound, staggering wisdom of our unconscious dreams, which so often tell us exactly what our conscious mind is stubbornly refusing to see. Or those highly implausible, deeply meaningful synchronicities that arrive precisely when we need them. This force, whatever name you choose to give it, is actively supporting your growth.
I want to share this incredibly powerful thought straight from the text. The call to grace is a call to a life of effortful caring, a call out of spiritual childhood into adulthood. Spiritual growth ultimately requires the immense courage to just grow up. You cannot be a passive passenger in your own life. No teacher, no ritual, and no amount of wishing is going to just carry you to your destination. You have to step up. You have to take full, absolute responsibility for your own unique, solitary journey, utilizing relentless discipline and active love every single step of the way.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. How will you use these tools of discipline to evolve your current reality today? What is one hard truth you need to face, or one responsibility you need to take absolute ownership of right now? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you found value in applying this Be Relevant explainer to your daily life, please make sure to hit that like button, share this explainer with someone who really needs to hear it today, and subscribe to the Be Relevant channel for more deep dives into the knowledge that actually changes lives. Until next time, keep growing.